everybody, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very different kind of video for you. Today's going to be more of a video on like battle of the highlighting palettes, which brand, which consistency, which one is right for you. With so much out there, it really is difficult sometimes to know, is that one going to work for me based on my taste, based on my skin type, based on, you know, my skin tone. There's just so much out there that it can be really overwhelming. Now, highlighters for me are something that so eyeshadows used to be my absolute favorite thing to buy. And as of maybe the last year or so, I feel like that has changed because highlighters are what I love so much. I want to try new ones. I want to test them out regardless of, you know, okay, it says it's for this, it says it's for this, but I want to try it out for myself. I'm always on that never-ending hunt for the perfect highlighter. So if you're interested in finding out which tone, which texture, which brand is right for you, then just keep on watching. I want to share with you the palettes, some of the palettes that I do have, and that way you can identify which one is likely best for you. So just keep on watching. Alright guys, so let me first take a step back and let you know what I like in a highlight, and that way you know where I'm coming from. But that's not to mean I'm just going to show you that type of highlight. I'm going to give you kind of like the pros and cons on all of these that I'm going to show you. But I love a very bold highlight, a very wet looking highlight, very intense, very metallic, very dewy. I want to be seen blocks down the street. I want to be seen from the next neighborhood practically. I want to put on my highlight and the next neighborhood to be like, wow, I can see it from here. Totally dramatic, totally exaggerated, but I really do love a very intense highlight. It's very rare that I go subtle. I probably can think in my mind of like a handful of times that I've gone subtle. To work, I don't wear subtle. I don't wear subtle, you know, on casual days, just, you know, if we're gonna do something. My husband and I never wear subtle. I go very, very bold. So I tend to like highlighters that are either very bold on the first time or that can build up very boldly, very quickly. So also my skin is, I do have light medium skin tone and I don't have really any texture on my skin. However, I do have quite large pores right here. But other than that, I don't have a lot of texture. So sometimes it's hard for me to tell what would bring out texture, although I can tell when something sits very powdery on my skin, like sitting on top of the skin, that in my mind is going to emphasize texture in somebody else's skin. So just wanted to preface with those few things. So I have quite a bit to go through with you. I'm going to go through the Anastasia Glow Kits, the KKW highlighting palette. I want to talk to you about NARS and their dual intensity highlighters. Tarte, because they've released palettes in the past. Kylie Cosmetics, which I know isn't up a lot of y'all's alley, but for sake of the video, and because I very, very much like her highlighters, I am including that in here. And lastly, Hourglass. This is in no means, you know, there are the only highlighter palettes out there. There are so many, but the probably more well-known and best ones in my collection and in my opinion. So that's what we're going to go through today. So let's just go ahead and start with the most obvious, which is Anastasia Glow Kits. So I have two here out of my collection. For purposes of this video, I'm going to take you through Sweets and That Glow. It's really just to kind of show you a few things. So let's first talk about the pros about these bad boys. Each one of these, well, there are a few glow kits that come with 6 pans of product. These particular ones have 4 and they have huge pans of product. Just for reference, let me see, total net weight 7.4 grams, 0.26 ounces each. That is very, very intense. So the reason these are in this video is, so you've got pros that they are, I think they're some of the best quality highlighters. In my opinion, you can't get this kind of quality with this price tag. They are very, very soft and blendable. When I say good price tag, I mean they are an amazing value in that, well, when they first started releasing glow kits, they were about 40. I want to say now they're 45 for 4 pans of product. Your typical compact, one single pan of product, if you buy it, let's say through Becca or another brand, it's typically $38 for one pan of product. Here you're getting 4 pans of product for now a price tag of $45. So they are very, very soft and blendable to the touch. They're very smooth. Now, the thing about Anastasia is in the past they have released glow kits that have had kind of chunky glitter. That hasn't been everybody's cup of tea. I completely understand that. Again, for purposes of this video, I'm not going to use those. I'm going to use just their regular glow kits, so not like the holiday one from a couple of years ago. The Nicole Guerrero is, I think that one is a lot of people's favorite. I'm not going to use that one anymore, or not right now because you can't get that one, but a lot of these you can still get. So for example, this one's the Sweet Glow Kit. Look how great pigmentation that is. I mean, they're super, super soft. And I'm just going to show you, look how metallic that is. So honestly, you can go in with a light hand and not really go too over the top, or you can go in with a heavy hand and build it up very, very quickly. So the awesome thing about these is that you get the 4 to 6 pans of product and you get varying shades. So it's not like you're going to get all golds, all bronzes, all white shades. You're getting, like with each, I have noticed with each glow kit, they tend to put in a variety of shades. What makes that nice is that it then can suit several skin tones. And so right here you've got kind of like a white-ish type, and I'm not really into those. I usually have to mix those with something else because then they give me a very white stripe. However, but for my fair skin tone ladies, I mean, that is probably pretty decent. Maybe even a little white, but you can still blend it in. But then you've got like a gold and more of a rose gold so that you can suit even deeper skin tones. I can get away with using all of these. With the darker ones, I have to go in with a lighter hand. That's not a big deal to me, but when it comes with a super light shade like this one as well, I just mix. It ends up evening out perfectly. So this is awesome because not only does it suit different skin tones, but it can provide variety if you're having to travel with it. You don't have to travel with all these different compacts. Literally one palette and you are done. The only thing I don't like about traveling with these is that they are a little bit bigger. So that is the size. Also, because they are soft products, you risk them breaking in transit. You know how airlines are, they'll throw your luggage and then next thing you know, you've arrived with a broken palette. So that's the only thing there. Now, so lastly, let me take you into that glow before I take you into my last thought. So here's another example. You've got a light yellow. You've got a pretty dark shade right there that almost can pass as like a bronzer. For me, this one is more something I would use on my forehead, like right now during summer months to glow up my tan. I call it a tan. It's not much of a tan, but kind of. And then you've got a couple of like a champagne shade and then maybe something a little bit deeper. So again, you're suiting more skin tones by doing it this way. And you've got the intensity. If you want to, you can go subtle. It's just, in my opinion, the glow kits are one of the best highlighting palettes on the market. I think that if I think back, I want to say the first palettes I ever bought were the first two. It was Gleam, I think, and which one's this one? It was Gleam and I think it was this one, That Glow, because then they came out with Sunkissed or something along those lines. And so I bought those when they first came out and I was like, this is so innovative. You've got like a palette with amazing highlighters and it's 4 pans of product in here for 40 bucks. Well, ever since then, highlighting palettes have just, I mean, increased in production, I guess, by all these brands. But I feel like Anastasia is who started the whole trend, and I think to this day, these are some of the best you can get out there for the price, for the quality. You really can't go wrong. Subtle, extreme, whatever. Next, guys, I'm going to take you into Kylie Cosmetics. So with each of her launches, so she's got her set of highlighters that are permanent. Those I like. But not as much as the highlighters she tends to come out with in her limited edition collection. Most recently, the Weather collection. So this one has 4 pans of product, and I just noticed that one of the pans is falling out. Okay. So anyways, let's hope this doesn't fall out while we're, yeah, it just totally did. Okay, so guys, Exhibit A for quality, the whole... The whole pan of product literally fell out of the pan. It's like in a square, so I'm gonna have to be careful with that. Okay, guys, so this is I love this palette so much. This is one of the most intense highlighting palettes I have ever used. So here's the thing about Kylie highlighters. So I really do think they are good quality. They're super, super soft. They're very, very blendable. They're very, very intense. The two middle are my favorites to use because they go on like blinding, wet, just beautiful. The outer two are not as extreme. So you've got, again, something for everyone in that you've got subtle, you've got extreme, and you've got the different shades in here. So here are my two favorites, and let me swatch them for you. Let me take off the last swatch so that we don't get confused. But those go on super intense, really, really, I don't want to say sparkly, but just very luminous. Now, as far as quality goes, I think they are good quality. I don't think they are the best. It's not going to be your high-end product. I have very often heard that Kylie Cosmetics, they use the same, what is it, manufacturer or whatever, the same people who make the ColourPop cosmetics. I've heard that they make the same thing. So you're basically paying for the name. I get that. But I do find that it also, the consistency seems to be very in line with ColourPop items. Anyways, so it is priced as a high-end product, and I love picking these up, but I do think they can be sold for a little bit less. Like I said, they're priced high because of the name. You're paying for the Kylie name. They're very, very soft to the touch. They're not hard, rough, kind of like sandpaper. They're super, super soft, and they build up very, very quickly. So you can go in with a lighter hand, but these are going to be more for the person who wants a brighter, just bolder, more intense wow type of highlight, because it can become very intense very quickly. And that's why, for me, the Kylie highlighters are some of my favorites, because like I told you at the beginning, that is what I like. I like a very bold, dramatic highlight. So just like the Anastasia glow kits, you also have the varying shades like I mentioned in here. You've got like a pinky type shade, you've got a champagne shade, you've got a bronzier shade, and then you've got that white shade that's in every palette, it seems. But that makes it kind of nice. The only thing is, I want to say this was like $45 also, and this, I mean, basically paying for the same thing as like this. So again, that's where the hang up is for me, is that it's just, I mean, the price, you know. Anyways, but Kylie makes some of my favorite highlighters out there. So next, I'm going to go over to her sister and tell you about the KKW highlighting palette. This is the most recent release in her area of highlighting, you know, products. So I picked up volume 1. There's volume 1, volume 2. I wanted both. I couldn't tell if volume 2 was going to be too deep for me. Looking at people use it, it doesn't look like it would be. It looks really, really nice. Who knows, maybe in the future. But the quality, first off, the quality is really, really good. It's hefty, it's weighty. I like the packaging. I think it's very, very classy. It's not like over the top, not cartoony, not anything like, I mean, there's obviously a difference. Can you tell? So this is really, really sturdy packaging. Now, I do find, so let me bring you up close so that you can kind of see what the difference is. So I find that these are very, very similar to Kylie's highlighters, at least for sure based on that Weather palette. I think they are really good quality and actually a better value than the Kylie highlighters. So for example, this palette was $45 for huge pans of product, very in line and similar to the ABH glow kits that we just talked about. If you see me keep looking down, it's because I had to make my notes on all this. I sat down and I thought all this out. Okay, so what I like about KKW, she released the two palettes to suit different skin tones even better. You've got the palette number 1, which is going to be more for your fair, light, medium skin tones, and then you've got palette 2, which can probably suit some of those skin tones, but also taking you into the medium and deep skin tones, which is nice because then it's not about, okay, these 2 or 3 can work for me, but this one really can't kind of thing. It becomes more of, I think all 4 of these are going to be able to work for me. So it's a little bit more geared to the skin tone, which is nice. And this, again, you've got the white, you've got a pink, a champagne, and kind of a well, I'm sorry. Okay, so you've got a white, a rose gold, a champagne, and kind of a pinky, and they are so super soft. I think they are even softer than the Kylie. I think they are even softer than the ABH highlighters, which blows my mind. But I even feel like the softer the consistency, the more glow and the more blinding it is. Now, what I have found about these is that they can go on. If you go in with a light hand, you can make it very subtle, very pretty, just like a hint of light there, a hint of brightness, but you can build these up so quickly, so beautifully, and make it the most blinding, intense highlight. And they just, the shades are perfection. They pop, they're very ideal for, I think, the skin tone range that they geared them to as far as volumes 1 and volume 2. So they just, I love them. Again, I don't think it's ideal for travel because look at the size. So, and it's very hefty and weighty, but what could make it nice for travel is that you have the 4 pans of product and you don't have to be packing, you know, 2 or 3 different compacts to have a different highlighter tone for all your different looks while on travel. So also what I have noticed about the KKW is about the Kylie is that a lot of people have been turned off with the whole checkout process. When she releases something, and I feel like it's dwindled down quite a bit the last 2 or 3 releases, but for a while it was really difficult when she launched something because you'd be on there refreshing, trying to get through that checkout line, which is really frustrating for a lot of people. I get that. Heck, it's frustrating for me, but if I really have my heart set on something, like I'll be kind of diligent, you know, until I'm done with the process. But what I love about the KKW is that, so for her Mario palette, for this palette, I have not found any issues. Like you go in, it's not like the website is crashing, nothing like that. You're able to get online, put it in your cart, check out in peace without any kind of issues. And from what I have noticed, she releases things with plenty of stock. So I'll go back a couple days later and it's still in stock, which is nice, you know? I mean, for someone who can't order it at exactly the time that they're releasing it, okay, go in a day or so later and you still be able to get that. So I think that is really nice too. I have not had any kind of issues. The only thing is that there's a charge for shipping. I think it's like $8, so that hurts my heart a little bit. I am very used to getting free shipping, but that is that. So there's no hassle of trying to snag this, so I think that won't turn as many people off. This is really worth looking into, and this is the scoop on that. You can go subtle, but very, very quickly you can make it super bold and super intense. You've got that varying shade range or whatever. Okay, so lastly, I actually have a couple more other than this. They're just not on my list. I added them last minute. But let me take you into NARS. So NARS obviously is a more luxurious brand. It's probably in between high-end and luxurious. It is quite pricey, but that comes with the brand. NARS makes a lot of great quality products. Their packaging is high quality. The product is usually high quality, and so you're gonna pay for that. This particular palette is the Bord de Plage. I probably just totally, I tried to say it right, but I don't know that I completely said it right. It's the palette, and I love picking up their highlighting palettes, again, because you get that varying, you know, that wide variety. Now, this one has a couple of bronzers in there, but let me just kind of bring you up. This is their dual intensity formula, so this is going to be ideal for the person who wants a subtle highlight, or the person who wants a subtle highlight or even a bolder highlight in the same palette. What I mean by that is that the dual intensity formula is to where you can wet it and make it more intense. You can build it up and make it more intense. You can take a really light hand and make it quite subtle, but to where you have a beautiful glow on your face without being overpowering if that's not your cup of tea. Or if you are a person who works, let's just say in the corporate workplace Monday through Friday, you want a subtle highlight Monday through Friday, but come the weekend, it's time to go out, it's time to do fun stuff, and you want a super intense highlight, this is right up your alley. This is meant for you because you can do that. You have the flexibility to take any one of these powders, make it super, super, trying to go in with a light finger here, just go super light. So let me try and see if I can show you a little bit. So right here, I put a little bit, blended it out with my finger, and it just gives my skin a really nice luminous look. However, you can build that up to where it looks super full on intense like this. And so that's again what makes NARS a very versatile brand. That's why you pay a little bit extra for something like this. The dual intensity formula has that capability. Also, I love that their palettes usually come with varying shades, so it's going to suit different skin tones. Their packaging isn't super heavy, so it makes it a little more convenient for travel. I have found that the dual intensity formula doesn't break as easy, and in a day and age when every single powder product, cream product is so breakable because it's so soft, it's kind of nice to know you've got a product that can kind of withstand that a little bit. I have another one here. Let me show this one to you. So the Banque de Sable was an older palette and really nice and compact. This is the ideal one for travel. It's light, packaging is still pretty. I mean, leave it to NARS to do something like that, but check this out. You've got, well, your typical white. Then you've got like a gold kind of shade or champagne kind of shade, and then you've got like the rose gold here on the end. So again, you've got the different shades that would make it appropriate for a wider range of skin tones. Again, super, super soft, but it's soft, but it's weird because it's like a stiff block of powder, and again, it's meant to be used wet, it's meant to be used dry, however you want. The wet obviously takes it a little bit more intense, but for example, this is me hardly swirling my finger in there and getting quite a bit of product. So that's what those look like right there. Again, so for your subtle days, for your extreme days, NARS really is amazing in the sense that it's quite versatile. And, you know, gives you that option. So also one other thing that I want to mention with that is that dual intensity formula kind of makes it look like it has blended into your skin, like it's melted into your skin. Now, I don't really feel like any of these that we've just mentioned, none of them really sit on top of the skin. There's a reason certain ones just I don't use as often, and that's because it looks like just a heavy layer of powder, I guess, just sitting on my skin, and I'm not super crazy about that. I find with the NARS Dual Intensity highlighters, they melt into the skin so beautifully that it just ends up as looking part of the skin. So when you can get a highlighter that does that, then you've found a good one. Okay, a couple of last ones. Let me take you into Tarte. So Tarte doesn't have a whole lot of highlighting palettes out there. They have the Rainforest of the Sea, Volumes 1 and Volumes 2. This is Volume 2. It has 4 pans of product. And this is, so it is a nice option. It's not super expensive. This is also one that you can go subtle. You can even make it more intense. I don't feel these are as intense as all of the previous palettes I just showed you. So this, for one, that's for one reason. I don't use this very often. I'm going to give you the other reason being that they end up looking very powdery on my skin, and so they just don't have that look of just a wet kind of part of my skin look. These are ones that do sit on top of my skin, look powdery, and while they have a nice type of beam to them, they're not as extreme as I would like, and they do have that powdery type of texture. So that's what those look like right there. Definitely a bit of a different consistency, and not my favorite go-to, where's my paper towel? Not my favorite go-to when it comes to using highlighter. So that, for that reason, and I have Volumes 1 and 2, they hardly get used. They stay in my drawer. From time to time I say, I haven't used this in a while, I'm going to, just so that I can say I'm getting use out of it, but honestly, it gets pushed to the side because of all of the others. There's just better, in my opinion, better quality out there. Now, Tarte is in I love Tarte. I think they're a great brand. I love most of what they put out, and that's not to say this is a bad product. It's just not for me, and for the reasons I just told you. However, price-wise, I think this is like either $39 or $42. I can't remember. It's one of those. So you are kind of in the middle price range where you're not in the super outrageous, luxurious price range. And it's kind of in line with like the whole ABH type of price range. but just not my favorite. I'm just not really crazy about the powdery texture, and but for someone who likes a more subtle highlight, you know, that you don't go in with a heavy hand, it may work wonderfully for you. Okay, lastly, I'm gonna take you into Hourglass. So again, Hourglass doesn't really have a whole lot of highlighting palettes out there. They do have a lot of palettes. They have released a lot of palettes, but they tend to include blushes and some of their like dim light and diffuse light, some of their actual finishing powders. This they released last year as part of holiday collection. I'm hoping they do another one this year, but this was the Ambient Metallic Strobe Lighting Palette. This is very different from anything that we've talked about. The Hourglass, if you're familiar with the Hourglass formula, it's very finely milled. It is powdery, but in a different sort of way. It's very light. And so for that reason, it doesn't really, I feel like the finish looks different on my skin than the others do. So these are very, very metallic. If you build them up, you can definitely go in with a light hand. Hourglass powders are, you just, you know, tap your brush, go in, and you have just a very, I think they're meant to be more of like a from within type of radiance. This palette was a little bit more than that, a little bit more intense, and I have gotten good use out of this. But you do have, let's see, where are we going to swatch these? I'm trying to figure out how I can explain this to you. It doesn't end up looking very powdery, but if you build it up too much, it can. These also have like a, it's not a sparkly finish. I don't know if it's in my mind, I'm thinking of like a metallic sparkle hybrid type of thing. But they're just very different. They're very light. And I don't know that they're everybody's cup of tea. However, I don't think these emphasize texture is what I have heard. So if I am wrong on that, please let me know in the comment section below. I would really love to know if this type of powder, you know, has emphasized your texture, what you feel about this. But Hourglass, obviously being a truly, it's a luxurious brand. You're gonna pay more for Hourglass than you will for any of these other brands that we just mentioned. This little palette I think was $59. Ooh, it's been about a year, but I think it was $59 and you get 3 pans of product. The Hourglass powders are known to be beautiful, so it already had its, you know, preceding powders set the stage for this one. But it's a very different finely milled powder, and while it is metallic and has like a, not a sparkle, but you can kind of see a shine, it's also ideal for the person who, you know, doesn't really want a whole lot going on there, just wants a very, how can I put it, because this is going to sound bad because it's going to sound like all of the others are not classy, but this gives you a very classy highlight, a very classy radiance to your skin. It's not like the, hey, I'm here, the party can start kind of highlight. It's very, I'm wearing a very noticeable highlight, but I'm not here to steal the spotlight or be the star of the show. It's just, you know, I don't know. I can envision somebody wearing a very elegant like ball gown and using this as their highlight. So it's very different. I wish I could explain it a little bit better, but that is that. So we've gone through quite a few highlighting palettes, not even a drop in the bucket compared to everything that's out there. There are so many other brands, so many other palettes, so many other, just everything out there is, it's so overwhelming and it's expensive and you're like, oh, I want that and I want that and I want that, and it's just like, okay, I need to calm down. I don't need it all, can't use it all. And so yeah, highlights are my thing, obviously. But I hope that you found this video at least somewhat helpful for what you are looking for in a highlighting palette, because again, it can be overwhelming and sometimes you just kind of need to step back and say, okay, what does each brand do? How does it suit my skin type? How does it suit my skin tone? How does it work for travel? All of those kinds of things are important to know when you're out there trying to pick a highlighting palette. Alright guys, before I let you go, I need to give you the verse of the day, and today's comes from Psalm 16:2 and says, I said to the Lord, you are my Lord, apart from you I have no good thing. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video, again, helpful, maybe even a little entertaining. If you're new to my channel, I hope you'll consider becoming part of this YouTube family with me. I would love to have you as part of this group. Please give this video a thumbs up if you did find it helpful, and I will see you guys very soon in the next video. I love each and every one of you, sending y'all a big hug and wishing you a wonderful rest of your day. Bye guys!